Bueno, pues buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for being here in this panel. We know that it's hard sometimes to come back to work after lunch, but thanks anyway for coming back. So one of the concerns regarding privacy that in which INCIBE has been working for the last year has been the importance of having diagnosis and metrics. Both in the definition of public services and in the design of commercial successful products, it's very important to get to know what is worrying the internet users, what incidents they've had, what measures can be implemented in a preventive way, and the degree of knowledge they have regarding security measures they can use. So this is why we have today the participation of the ONTSI, the entity Red.com. Alberto Urueña is going to talk on behalf of these institutions that are trying to solve these concerns I've just mentioned. The ONTSI is a reference institution because it's describing in a systematic way the progress of the the society of information in the last years. We have now a methodological design that combines both the things that the user can perceive and what he applies. And this has allowed us to know that security tools nowadays are useful, but they are not enough, because it's true that many users usually use solution providers, but they do not pay that much attention regarding other issues. So this is why it is very important also to inform society so that they can have a critical attitude towards their level of protection. This also is going to imply new opportunities of improvement for all of us. The work that this institution is also doing is important because it shows the cooperation of Red.es and INCIBE throughout the years. Nowadays, the Internet User Security Office and the service Protect Your Business is taking charge of these issues. And we are advising through these offices regarding prevention, and we are also contributing to the dissemination of the security culture, the culture of cybersecurity and trust among users, which is very important for us. So the main conclusions about this study about cybersecurity and trust in Spanish households, Alberto Urueña is going to give a presentation about this. He is the Deputy Director of Studies as ONTSI, and he's been in charge of many studies of this type for the public administrations of Spain. So I'd like to give the floor now to Alberto so that he can explain to us the behaviors, the security measures, the incidents that Internet users are experiencing, and to what extent they feel they can trust the public administration to use this type of services. Please, Alberto, you have the floor. Thanks a lot, Cristina, for your presentation. It's a pleasure for me to be here, especially now after lunch. Thanks so much for coming to my presentation. We've published this study this morning, and I'm going to show you some of the highlights. The study is very comprehensive, but I'm going to try to explain the highlights of this study. First, a question. Of those who knows this study here in the room, the study that we've just published? Well, it's a very well done study. but it's still, it's not very well known still. This is going to be the index I'm going to use in my presentation. I'm going to start talking about how we do this type of studies, because methodology here is very important, compared especially to other ways of working in different countries. After methodology, I'm going to try to follow the same order the study follows. This is a study of final demand of end users, internet users that at least use the internet once a month. We've asked questions to these internet users, but we've also monitored if what they were saying is the reality. And afterwards, we try to analyze differences between their reality and their perception. We've asked them about their behavior habits. They've asked them about the security incidents they have suffered. And also, we've monitored the security incidents that they have suffered. After having these security incidents, users usually take some measures, make some decisions, and we are going to analyze that too. And afterwards, we try to measure what's the degree of trust they have on the internet and on the net. Well, Cristina has already introduced me. As she said, in the ONTSI, we do this study, but we do many more research and investigations regarding offer and demand. We study the ICT sector, we study SMEs. We usually publish 15 or 16 reports per year, and all of them can be publicly accessed in the site Red.es. So what are the objectives and what's the scope of this study? Well, we've asked these users to explain what they are doing, which is called declared information. And also there is a software that has been developed by ISPASEC. And we've used this software in the user PC, in Windows operating systems, and in Android systems too. And thanks to this software, we've collected a lot of characteristics regarding the operating system of the computer, the antivirus program that the user use in case they use one. And this is what we've used. And first, they sent the users a questionnaire, a survey. We've used a sample of 3,512 households. We've done this study every 6 months. And we've tried to use the same sample of households every 6 months, even though some households have not participated in all the phases. But we wanted to check how their security behaviors has been changing throughout the time. So as I was saying, first of all, we've sent some online questions to these households. They can answer to these questions from their PC or their phones or their laptops. And we've asked for their behaviors in regarding the use of PCs, Android systems, or laptops. Once we have tracked the answer, a scan is activated. A scan process is activated with this tool, this software I've just mentioned. This is like an antivirus drive that is trying to collect this information. The user, of course, has agreed to this. And we collect this type of information regarding security and regarding the type of operating system they have, all these different aspects. And this is especially interesting because we've been able to see the difference between perceived or declared situation and the reality, because everybody thinks that nothing is going to happen to them, this type of security incidents, but we are going to see that the reality is quite different. We've published the data from the first semester of 2018, and well, the Pinkerton, the word that you are seeing there, is the name of the software used. The software we've used for the collection of real information, because we wanted to analyze the real status of security. It's true that there are a lot of good studies regarding virus incidents, but many data are based on declarations of the users, statements of the users. But we are going to see that even though this can work sometimes, we wanted to see what was the truth, because we are going to try also to educate the society with the results of the study. And in this presentation, we will see some recommendations that we want to convey, also to increase this divulgative objective of the report, of this study, because this is a tool companies such as the ones here in this event can use. For now, we have been doing this only with end users, with individuals, not with companies, but maybe in the future. But our objective would be to try to implement more and better security policies in the country. So as I was saying, we've used users that have at least connected once a month to the internet. We are monitoring 3,512 households, and of these, 1,396 PCs, 1,865 smartphones, and 251 Androids. This is like a sampling study of the country, and I think that the sampling group use is quite good, the number. As for the security measures, the use of security measures in computers and in the household, we've compared, as I've said, the declared information and the real information. And I'm going just to talk about two issues. The use of firewall, for example. The declared use says that about 37% of people have said that they are using firewalls. But in reality, we are talking about 96%. Other example, regarding the hard disk division, the partition of the hard disk, we are able to see if the hard disk has been partitioned. Only 17% of people declare that their hard disk has been partitioned. It's true that some people think that they can have an antivirus, and they think that an antivirus is the same thing as a firewall, but it is not like that. If I'm asked about my hard disk, probably I don't know if what's the status of my hard disk, because probably this has been done even before I bought my computer. So this gives us some information that it can be very useful for society, such as what's a malware, for example. Regarding Android, these are the stated data regarding the use of security measure. We can see that there is about an 80% of use, 81%. Regarding antivirus, this is something that is quite worrying, because even though the amount is increasing, we are around 50% regarding the use of antivirus. But whenever we ask about more sophisticated things, some people can answer right. For example, when we ask about data encryption, so only some people can answer these questions, and people that can answer these questions, because they are quite specialized, get it right. So this is the use of antivirus and this type of security measures in Android. But what happens if we see the real information regarding the use of security measures in Android? It stated is 55%, real is about 50% regarding antivirus. But what happens with unblocking pattern? 1 out of 3 users usually have this type of PIN or unblocking pattern. So what's happening here? We are talking here about the lack of security culture. Probably the unblocking systems we have, for example, when we use a finger, sometimes people think that this has the same value as using a PIN or a pattern, an unblocking pattern, which is more safe. Let's move on. The use of security measures, we can know if the device, the Android device, is used in a root mode or not. As you can see, the root mode is quite low because it's true that the latest Android version make us more and more difficult to use this root mode. We are about 3.8%. 3.8% of users have this root mode installed. However, some people think that they are using this root mode. 24% of people think they are using their devices in root mode. 33% think that they are not using their device on root mode, and the rest of the people do not know what's the root mode. They don't know if they are using it or no. So it's very important, I think, to have this knowledge, and I think the public administration and the providers company should provide tools for the end users, because there are some things that we take for granted and the end user doesn't know. So I think this is an opportunity companies have. So as I was saying, this presentation deals with the highlights of the study, but there is more information. In these statistics, we can see that, well, in more advanced operating systems, it's harder and harder for the user to use the root mode. In Android 8, less than 1% is using the root mode. But if we go back to previous version of Android, the percentage increases even to 10%. So normally, when people try to update the system of the phones, of their smartphones, they can sometimes change the administration. And I wanted to mention something here. Sometimes hardware manufacturers make difficult for the end user to update their smartphones to more advanced versions. And it's true, we've seen that for users it's harder and harder to update their version of the Android system they are using. As for behavior habits, we are going to talk here about the stated behavior habits. I have here a couple of examples. We've asked questions such as, for example, when you download a file with a peer-to-peer program, do you try to check if the security of the file? Some of the questions we ask, for example, whenever you install a freeware program, as we all know, things aren't usually free. So sometimes in this type of programs, it says that when you install the program, you are going to install another program. So we are asking these users, are you monitoring the installation of this type of programs? Do you know that this implies sometimes the installation of other type of programs? Other question we usually ask is, do you read the terms and conditions. Well, it's quite hard to have a positive answer for this question. Almost 70% of users say that they do not accept the terms and conditions. So here's our recommendation. We have to read before accepting anything. Also, regarding Android habits, one of the things we've seen, one of the stated things we've seen, regarding the question if they downloaded some files or programs from unknown sources, about 40% of Android devices stated that, analyzed by Pinkerton, had stated that they had set the device to be able to install programs from unknown sources. But there is something interesting here. I'm sure you can help me with this. Only 2.4% of users have said that they download from unknown sources, even though 40% are saying that they are allowing for this, for the device to be able to download this from unknown sources. We've also asked many more questions, such as risk perception, risk attitude, because depending on perception and attitude, you're going to have a different profile, and you are going to be more or less willing to do certain things with your device. We can create psychology models with all this information that can be very interesting. But, well, then we have also security incidents. As I'm saying, we were able to distinguish regarding the different antivirus programs, if we have a malware, a spyware, an adware, all type of viruses we may find. Because as I was saying, one of the objectives of this research, of this study, was to create some time of culture regarding the different type of antivirus in the market. This is quite interesting. Let's see this. We've asked, well, as I'm saying, first we sent the stated information survey. Almost 70% of the users said that they had suffered real security incidents with sometimes of adware, malware. This is not surprising. But only 13% of users stated or had perceived that they had suffered incidents. So after monitoring this information, as I've said, we've realized that almost 70% of these users had suffered from these security incidents. Let's look at the first number. 10% of people said that they had a malware in their PC when we asked. And when we could monitor their laptops or their PCs, because it takes time, it's not the same time analyzing an Android system than a computer, but well, 10% of people said that they had a malware in their PC and they didn't fix it. I think this is quite complex to deal with. So there are people that know that they have a problem in their PCs and they don't know how to fix it. Then we have 59.6% of people that said that they didn't have a malware and their PCs had a malware. So this is the reality in Spanish households. Regarding Android, things are a little bit better. Maybe it's true that we are using more and more our smartphones and less our computers. But it's true that 20%, regarding the real data, 20% of households had malware, and then the declared information represented 18.9%. So this is slightly better, and only 1.3% of people that had a malware hadn't or couldn't fix it. But as you can see, also information is changing throughout time. As for the type of malware detected in Android systems, it's true that if we ask users if they had a Trojan virus, and spyware, something like that, they are not going to know. It's true that the level of adware is decreasing. We don't know exactly why, but in the first semester of 2018, we can say that about 15% of Trojans are present, and spyware is about less than 1%. Also, in order to see the importance of malware, we've checked if the operating system users have was updated or not. And it seems that when the PC is updated, 68% of computers updated have malware. And if the PC is not updated, we are talking about the 70% of cases. In the case of Android, these figures improve a lot. If the system is updated, only 17% of them suffer from some type of malware. But if the system is not updated, we are talking about 28% of malware or some type of viruses. So the difference here is higher. So we've seen that incidents happen, and these incidents have consequences, and users react to these consequences. So we ask them about the type of reactions they have when they suffer these security incidents. We've asked about the last semester, because as I've said, we are doing this type of surveys every 6 months. About 63% of users say that they've suffered some type of fraud, such as invitations to visit suspicious websites or receiving fake job offers. This appears a lot on the news. So it's true that it seems that many people are perceiving that they are suffering from fraud. And what do they do about this? 65% of users say that they are doing something, but this is also the stated information. I would love that this would be real data, but it's not that easy. Most of people usually change passwords. If you have a problem or you see that something weird is happening, you always try to change the password. Then updating security tools is also, some people also do that, or some people say that they are going to stop doing online purchases. And with all these ingredients, in the end, we've tried to build a trust indicator. As you know, trust is the basic element. Trust are the foundations of security. So what are the trust level on the internet? This doesn't change a lot, which means that this is a simple question, a very well-done question. 43% of users trust a lot, are very confident. But if we look at the pie on the right, 5.3% rely on the internet a lot, and 37.6% they trust pretty much. They rely on the internet pretty much. And this is one of the things that the government is working on, as we've heard. Also, we've asked the users, do you think you are well protected, taking into account everything that's happening nowadays? You are professionals about this issue. You know this better than me. 70% of users think that they are reasonably protected against threats, but they don't know that there is such a difference between the malware they think they have and the reality. If they knew what's real, I think they wouldn't say this. And we also can be optimistic at some extent, because we asked them, in the last 3 months, have you suffered from the same number of incidences? No. And most of people said that in the last 3 months have had similar incidents, but the reality is that more and more threats are more dangerous for users. These are some of the data. I think I made it on time, but I don't know if we have questions from the audience. Yes, I wanted to say that Spanish users, of course, need the information society. It's true that they feel reasonably safe or secure, or at least this is what they perceive, but we still have some work to do because we have to offer solutions to them that are more intuitive and that can balance these differences between perception and reality. Do we have time for questions? No, we don't. But we are going to finish this presentation by inviting you in this website and read this study and all the studies you have regarding the information society. Thank you so much, Alberto. Thank you for having invited me. Thank you so much.
Gracias.